believe that what ICT has done for the industry is amazing. Of course, he has introduced, and not only introduced, but also grew through his audience a lot of concepts that are definitely helpful in order to understand the market. You point out things that are obvious and they still don't understand, and they try to defend the whole ICT movement.
I think that people don't want to turn themselves into a trader, they just want to become a trader by mistake. I think people spend time chasing that lucky streak rather than trying to create an ever long streak of success, you know? What's up, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of the Fair Value Podcast. Today we have Edward XL from Forex XL on our podcast, and it's a really great conversation. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. We chat a lot about how he experienced life in Italy and moving to LA, and how he grew as a trader and how he grew his social media pages to become some of the biggest trading pages on Instagram right now, as well as obviously his YouTube and other social media pages. It's really interesting how our journeys sort of seem to sync up and have so many similarities. I learned a lot from this conversation, so I really hope you guys learned a lot from it too. If you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to hit subscribe down below, hit like, and let me know in the comments who you want to see in the next video and what you thought about this podcast in general. So thank you to everybody for watching. Let's get right into it. Edward, what's up, man? How you doing, bro?
What's up, man? I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Good. So Edward, bro, what I wanted to start with is I wanted to jump into your earlier years and how you got started trading. How was things before you started, becoming profitable and making trading more of like a career?
For sure, yes. That's actually a very interesting story. I started when I was around 15 or 16. I started getting interested into the financial world. So initially, you just Google online how to make money online, and many results come up. You have dropshipping, e-commerce, and also trading as well. So I was thinking which option could have been the most suitable for me. And of course, I thought about them all, but at the end of the day, I started with trading. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, but I started when I was 16, and initially I didn't take it seriously. So the first experience was in actually the economic class, and we were trading stocks. It was actually a great professor. He made some money with stocks, and we traded stocks for that semester. And at the same time, I was getting interested into trading. Therefore, I was trying to trade on my side. Now, I never took it seriously for the first couple of years as, well, first of all, I didn't have capital. I was young, and also just a different mentality compared to now, as I'm always trying to improve. But when I was younger, maybe I was less interested into a lot of mentality development things. So I was just trying just for the money, not really any other motivation, and it showed on my results. So that was the beginning, and after it continued, it just developed over time. At a certain point, when I go back to Italy, because for high school I was in the US, in Los Angeles. When I go back to Italy when I was 18, I took it more seriously. I was trying at the same time to make it to professional basketball. So I was playing semi-professional basketball in Italy, trying to make it to the pros, but I never made it, unfortunately. And at the same time, I was trying to improve my trading. At that point, I invested a lot into myself, and I believe this is a very important lesson for everyone listening. Of course, make smart choices with your finances, but at the same time, investing in myself was the most important thing, that the crucial thing that I did in order to level up. I believe I had around, maybe 2,000 euros to my name at that point, maybe 3,000. And I invested 50% of it into courses, mentorships, and just lessons from other people in order to learn how to trade. At that point, there was actually a very important step. It's not like I turned profitable right away, but it was super important as I received a lot of lessons from all of these individuals. And those lessons, I took them and I tried to implement them into the markets. And at the same time, I tried to put the things that I learned from the market just by myself together with things that I learned from the mentorships and from all the lessons that I've got from other people. So, of course, just these courses didn't make me profitable. And I believe that courses in general don't just make you profitable right away. Like, they don't make you profitable right away, but you need to put your own effort into it, and you need to put your own energy into it, and you need to refine the things. So that's what I did. And later, after 3 years of trading, I started 2.5 years, 3 years of trading, I started seeing my first results. So that's how I got started. And I believe that later in time, what pushed me to do even better was that I failed. I failed with basketball. Like, I didn't make it to the pros, and I was always staying in the semi-professional level. And at a certain point, I just considered it as my own failure, and this pushed me to do way better in the business world and in the trading world.
It's interesting because there's actually quite a few people that, started with some kind of career like that, and then they pivoted towards trading.
Yeah.
So you were wanting to make a full-on career out of professional basketball, right?
100%, yes. That's what I dedicated. Sorry to interrupt. That's what I dedicated.
So essentially, you just pivoted towards, trading essentially instead of, when that didn't work out, right?
Yes, exactly.
How old were you when you realized you wanted to pivot from basketball to trading?
19.
19.
Yes.
And you were like, at that point, had you decided that you were going to take trading seriously as like a career?
Yes, this was when actually not as a career to live of trading. I still didn't believe that it was possible for me. Also, prop firms were not so popular, and I didn't make that mentality switch yet. So the reason why that didn't happen is because, as I said, in the first couple of years, I didn't take trading seriously. And right after, when I started taking it seriously, I thought, well, it would be nice to, when I have my job, to make some extra money with trading, maybe double my income, But I didn't see the possibility of scaling, and it was just my own mental limit. As I said, I was not really into into mentality and psychological development yet, so I didn't really have big beliefs of what I could have achieved through trading or through business. Therefore, I just thought, I would just have my job and make extra money with this, and I would have a nice life. But of course, with time, that changed. Yeah.
Right. And did you find that when you started to invest more into your personal development and psychological development, that the pieces started to sort of fall together more?
Oh yeah, 100%. That was the turning point. I remember, I don't remember the year exactly. Well, it was actually during the pandemic year, in the beginning. I read one book, and right after that book, I started practicing a lot on my mentality. I started to try to improve my mentality, changing my limiting beliefs, changing the way I was just approaching and viewing the world. Because at the end of the day, the way you perceive things is just based on yourself. Everything external can happen in a certain way, but at the end of the day, the only switch that you can make is how you perceive it. So I started changing myself and stopped trying to change the outside world. And this helped a lot also with trading, just by focusing on myself and focusing on my own goals, on my own mentality. It helped a lot. I saw the first results. And right after a couple months of reading this book and trying to implement everything into my own life, I tripled my income. So my income from trading. So yeah.
It's interesting because I believe that the world has that belief generally ingrained into them in general right now, and that is that the world needs to change for me, and I don't need to change for the world, right? Everybody's always talking about their circumstances and not talking about changing their lives themselves, but they want everybody around them to change to make it easier for them to achieve goals, which is just not how the world works. But it feels like almost like the media is telling us it's okay to believe that. It's okay to not want more and just be okay with what you have, because the world is hard and everything around you is trying to make you fail, and that's okay. They're not saying try harder, become a better person,
Right.
work on yourself, become better in your career, become better in your business. I think that. Do you think that that's on purpose? I think that sometimes the world is trying to make you fail and trying to, in general, like, not as a conspiracy theory, but I feel like literally that's what they want people to become, is just robots that are born to live, work for other people, make money for other people, and not dream big.
100%. I completely agree with you. And at the same time, the media is just here to instill fear and just portray certain things of the world and make you feel like you're not in control of your own life. While I 100% believe that you are in full control of your life. I'm not saying that I always was, but I would say that in the last few years, I always was aware that anything happening in my life, whether it was good or bad, it was just based on my own actions and on my own beliefs. So I believe that taking self-accountability is the first step. And, the media also, not only the media, but the world tries to portray these people that focus on themselves and try to better their life as selfish. I completely disagree with this view, as the only way to change the world and help people around you is to first change yourself. I could not ever imagine being able to help my family or my friends if first I didn't help myself.
Right, it's exactly that. Like, if you're busy drowning, you can't help other
Right.
people that are busy drowning.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're just going to end up drowning. Everybody's going to end up drowning, right?
Exactly.
And I think sometimes I feel like that's what the media and the governments want us to do. They just want everybody to drown so they can control us.
Yeah.
It's not to sound conspiracy theorist, of course.
But it's just how it is, yeah.
It just is how it is, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. And they will try to make it sound like a conspiracy theory, but in actuality, it's the only thing that makes logical sense as to why certain agendas are pushed and stuff like that. But getting back on track, you said you started on self-development and stuff like that, and that was a big key in your success.
Yep.
You said you read a particular book. What book was it, and are there other books that you would recommend for people that are specifically trading and in the business kind of realm?
So yes, none of these books were correlated with trading. I read some trading books. I also read some business books, but the books that helped me the most were the books that were just on self-development. Because after that, I just gained the knowledge on how to control myself, on how to control my own mind, and how to reprogram my own mind in order to make better choices later on what to study. So study trading and studying also the business side of things. But this book that I was referring to is an Italian book. Unfortunately, there's not in English. The translation of the title is The Power of the Quantum Brain, the Quantum Mind. It was a super interesting book. I would say something similar but not identical is Psychocybernetics, which is available also in English. So if I can recommend other books which are also available in English, is for sure Psychocybernetics. Great book. It really helps you with understanding how viewing yourself in a certain way also affects your results. This is one of the major takeaways from the book, but also gives a lot of examples. Another book which I would recommend, but it's a bit later, that you can use it later to level up after getting the first key things down, is let me think about the title, is reality transurfing. It's a very big book, actually. I believe it has almost 1,000 pages. But I believe also if you just read half of it, it has some of the key things that can help you. 100%.
So a lot of people ask me, what is my favorite prop firm to use? And the answer is simple. It's Blue Guardian. Blue Guardian has the best prop firm conditions of any prop firm I've used to trade with. And they allow you to take an unlimited amount of time to pass their evaluation. Not only this, but they give you the Guardian Protector, which is a tool that stops you from hitting your max daily loss. You can also set it further down to stop you from over trading for that day. It simply cuts off your MT4 account and you can't continue to trade if you hit more than that loss. So if you want to use the prop firm that I use, click the link down below and use the code GARTRADES to get 10% off your purchase. Let's continue with
Right, and it's also a thing of like, if you don't believe you're gonna do it, you're just not gonna do it, are you?
Yeah.
It's not just gonna randomly happen. And I think that that's the key thing. I think there's certain people that like to dream big and there's other people that like to play it safe.
100%.
And I think that we are probably the people that, you know, are bred to dream big. And I've always kind of been criticized for dreaming big. I think a lot of the time most of people that think in a regular way will criticize you for thinking big, especially when it comes to trading, because when it comes to trading and other online businesses, to be honest, things can happen within weeks that could take years when it comes to other careers. If you become a lawyer and you want to become a very big lawyer, it's going to take you 20, 30 years. You're first going to have to qualify, you're going to have to do your degree, you're going to have to go out there and practice, and you're going to have to obviously achieve some things first. And in that time, it's going to take you probably about 20 or 30 years. Whereas if you start a career in, for example, e-commerce, if you start a career in trading, you can go from 0 to 100 in like a few weeks if you really put your mind to it. Obviously, there will be years of work behind those few weeks. Yeah. But in my case, literally within months, my whole life changed, right? Because I had put in 3.5 years of going nowhere. Certainly. It feels like you're trying to, I think there's a analogy, and the bamboo plant, literally before it grows, nothing happens above the soil for a very long extended period of time. I'm not sure how long it is. I think it's literally for like a year. Nothing happens. And then over the course of a couple of weeks, suddenly it completely grows into a full-on bamboo tree. Yeah. I think I saw something like that. And it's a lot like that. It's exactly like that. Yeah. I don't know if you saw kind of the same similarity when it came to your trading, but also your business career in general as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. You know, as you said, you can put in years, you're just betting on yourself. But then when you actually make that mental switch, and also once you have gained the knowledge and the skills, you can gain back everything that you invested in a few weeks. And then, you know, you can go to profit. This is both, I believe, for trading and business. You can put in the work for a long time, depending on how many things you need to work on. But then after, you can gain back everything in just a few days, few weeks, 100%. But no one focuses on those years. No one focuses on those things. On social media especially, you only see the results. And I believe that just seeing the results can be dangerous sometimes, as you just want to get those results fast. I could argue that maybe it is faster now thanks to prop firms, but at the same time it can be faster, but you can also lose way more money because you just hope to get to that 200k account. And you just keep buying it, so you lose more money and you don't focus on getting the knowledge because you see all these people on social media just flexing the results. So I believe that you just need to focus on yourself, put in the work, read the books, whether it is on self-development, whether it is on trading. Try to get to that level of that person that can get those results. It's not about how can I get $1 million in a fund. Sorry, it's not about how can I get $1 million funded account, but it's about how can I become the person that is able to get that $1 million funded account.
Yeah, I think people treat trading a lot like gambling. They literally just like, one of these days I'm going to take the right trade and I'm going to pass the account, and then I'm going to pass phase 2, and then I'm going to get paid out like $20,000, and then I'm set, you know. And I'm like, but don't you want to work on yourself so that you can consistently produce results like that? Like, I think that people don't want to turn themselves into a trader. They just want to become a trader by mistake, you know?
I think that that's the biggest thing. I think people spend time chasing that lucky streak rather than trying to create an ever long streak of success, you know? But coming back to like mindset, I think in terms of the way that we think, for example, I believe that we, you know, there needs to be a balance between being a dreamer and being realistic, thinking big, but also, you know, putting into place the, you know, the steps to get to those dreams, right? But it also, I think it takes a certain type of person to be the big thinker and dreamer that I believe a lot of us are, that have become successful in the trading community. What do you think turned you into that person that dreamed so big, and did you always believe that you would make something of yourself, not only in this community but in general?
So I'm a big believer of going step by step, but also dreaming bigger. So what I did personally was that I always had big goals. Once I realized that it was possible to have them, you know, in the beginning, I kind of had in the beginning, I just didn't believe big enough. I just thought that I was going to trade alongside having a job. Then when I realized that how scalable trading was, I just started dreaming bigger and bigger. I remember at that time I had some friends and I was just telling them that, you know, maybe this month I made 5K, but I just need to do the same exact thing to make 15K. Like, if I know how to make 5% on a $10,000 account, I know how to make 5% on a $200 on a $200,000 account, you know. So at that point, the only difference is, am I able to manage $200,000? You know, am I able to mentally manage and execute my strategy at the same level when I have a bigger amount of money? So I'm a big believer of setting big goals, but I'm always a big believer of focusing on the step-by-step process. So I had no doubt that one day in the future I was going to make 1 million euros in a year. But at the same time, I knew that for some years that was not going to happen, because first I needed to go through step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. So yes, just step-by-step process, 100%, but always keeping in mind the bigger goal. That's my belief in the way I approach things.
Right. But also I think, like, I was watching another podcast. I think it was actually with Kimmel Trading, who I'm going to have on here soon. But he was saying that when it came to motivation, right, for reaching, you know, because obviously reaching these big dreams, you need to really hold on, especially when it comes to trading. You go through drawdown periods. Same with life. You really need to hold on through those drawdown periods, or those times of extreme stress, or times when your strategy doesn't seem to be working, etc., etc. So obviously there needs to be like an intense amount of motivation. And it was like something that he was saying, it's not just positive motivation, but it's also negative motivation that's important. I think that when it comes to business and trading alike, and reaching those big goals, you need to have something that you are essentially motivated by from the back and from the front. And so the analogy that they use, it's an experiment that they actually did, is that there was a whole bunch of mice in a lab, and they had these little wires tied around their tails, and they would have to pull to get to cheese at the end of a tube. And they found that they pulled a little, but they didn't pull enough to get to the cheese. Even though there was cheese there, they didn't want to run hard enough and pull enough to get to the cheese. But when you paired that with the pheromones from a cat placed behind them, that was enough to push them to get the cheese. So in your mind, what was your, obviously you had, your dream that you had envisioned for yourself, but also what was the thing that scared you the most in terms of, and stopped you from becoming complacent and not chasing that dream anymore?
Yes, that's a good question, actually. So as you said, it's very important to keep in mind that both good motivation and bad motivation can be good for you. At that point, I was failing with basketball. I was not reaching my goal, and I was seeing some of my old teammates actually advancing in the basketball board. They were going pros, and in the past, when I was younger, I believed that I was really good and maybe better than some of them. So I was in a competition with others at the same time. They were my friends, but seeing them succeed and seeing myself not succeed in this made me actually decide to really push hard in the trading and business world. Now, these paired together with some family situations where I just wanted to make my own money and be independent really pushed me to do better.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's so many similarities that I draw between a lot of these podcast episodes that I do with my own journey. But what I wanted to ask you, and transitioning to this, but your social media pages have absolutely exploded.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago did you start it, and how was the journey when you started them? Because I mean, you've got Forex XL, you've got your personal pages, you've got Life As Bullish podcast, you've got so many different pages that I'm probably not even aware of.
Yeah.
How do you manage all of that? And how was the journey from the beginning when you started on social media? And where in your journey of trading did you decide to, publicly start to share your journey and decide to become more public in your trading knowledge?
Yes. There are quite few pages at this point. You're correct. With time, I started increasing them and getting a team behind all the pages that are helping me actually carry out these things, these pages.
What are all of them? What are all of them?
How many?
Can you name all of them?
The name?
Because there's so many.
All of them. There's Forex XL, Edward XL Trades, Edward XL Official. We used to have Crypto XL. Right now, it's not open anymore. But then there are a couple YouTube channels. Some other pages which are kind of behind the scenes are in the work in progress. You'll see in the next couple months, like 5 more pages pop up for sure.
That's wild, bro.
But
how do you manage so many
man.
different pages? But also, you're so consistent with them as well. It's crazy, and I kind of took a lot of inspiration from it. So yeah, it'd be great to learn more from you. I think that a lot of people in the social media world would also love to hear how you're able to manage such a huge operation.
I appreciate it. So in the beginning, it was just me going crazy. When I was not trading, I was working. Like, I didn't have any free time. I didn't really hang out for many years, actually around 3 years. I was just 100% focused on trading and sharing and growing my social media pages. Now, at a certain point where I got to a point where I actually realized that in order to grow more, I needed to build a team. So I'm fortunate enough to have a motivated team of really motivated individuals. I have my video maker that is always with me, video editor, couple content creators, and they really helped me through this process. Some of them are also traders that actually trade with my strategy. So it's really interesting to just be together, trade together, manage the pages together. So I'm really thankful to my team to actually always trying to improve. And to also answer your question about social medias, I consider myself a student of life. So let's say everything that happens has a logic behind it and also has a formula behind it. The same way that in order to become a profitable trader, you need to find your formula, which is your strategy, your trading strategy, which works. In order to grow on social medias, you need to find the formula. In order to find it, of course, you need to study from others. Now, one game that I try to explain to my team in order to level up the social media game is, when you're little and you have 2 pictures and you play, find the differences, okay? There are a couple pictures and maybe there are small differences and you just need to find them and circle them. Now, for social media, is you study competitors, you study people that are doing what you like to do, and you put your post and you put their post and you find the difference. And you're like, okay, of course I need to have my style, of course I need to do my own thing, but why is his post working, his reel is working, and mine is not. So I just play a lot of games of find the difference every single day, and my team does as well. And we always try to level up. For example, let's take an example of my latest page that it is growing, which is my own personal brand page, which is Edward Excel Official on Instagram. That page was stuck at 22,000 followers for 1 year. Zero growth. And we were not understanding how to grow it. Now, I sat down with my video maker, we studied 2 or 3 other pages, we studied contents that were performing the best, and we were like, okay, I have these things to share. Of course, it's going to be my own persona, my own style of doing things, but we will do it on the style that works. So we tried to do it. Of course, there was a little bit of trial and error for 1 month, and now we grew around, right now from 22, in 3 months, we are at 34,000 followers. So, of course,
wow,
really thankful to the team for putting in the work. And also I've mastered, I would say, at least Instagram over the years. I've been there 6 years, active every single day. So, you know, and the same way if you're trading every single day, you improve.
Right. And in terms of like your growth, do you think there was particular challenges that you faced that kind of drew comparisons to trading when it comes to social media?
So I have both challenges that can be in comparison with trading and also challenges that are not. One challenge that is not in comparison with trading is just being myself. You know, sometimes you go on social media and you want to be the person that is liked by others. So you want to kind of, you're not yourself and you want to be the person that other people are going to like. But I understood with time that you just need to be yourself, and you just need that people are going to like you for your authenticity. So the more you are authentic, the more you're actually going to grow. The other things that are in comparison with trading is for sure showing up every day, putting in the work every single day, of being there, reviewing, doing a weekly review of what worked and what didn't work, just like with trading. With trading, you go and you do a weekly review of the good trades and bad trades. On social media, you do a review of the posts that worked and the posts that didn't work. So a lot of similarities, the consistency, the showing up every day, the reviewing, all of these things for sure.
Right, and obviously recently you started doing Life As Bullish podcast. How's that been so far? I one of my favorites is having Bottom G on your show. Brian Michael Hines.
Yeah,
I mean, he's busy blowing up, actually. Like, it's actually crazy. I mean, he's collaborating with a ton of different influencers. How is that experience, and how is the experience in general of starting your podcast?
Starting my podcast was amazing, I would say. I didn't really have any experience in it. I didn't really talk a lot on social media, so of course it was challenging for me, but I love challenges. And starting it allowed me to connect with other like-minded individuals and traders, which was the goal of the podcast. We don't sell anything during the podcast. We don't promote anything in particular during the podcast. We just really try to connect with other people and give the audience good messages and good things in order to level up, whether it is in trading or in life. We just bring a lot of people in that have been through something or that have developed something during these years, and they share their experience. It was really interesting with Bottom G because I was not expecting him to leave like 5 minutes from my office. And I just found out by looking at his stories, I was like, this guy is living like 5 minutes from here. No way. Like, I always see his content online, but I had no idea that he was even in my same country. So that happened. I reached out. We did the podcast. It was fun.
Right. But it's interesting, bro, because it's the same for me. Doing the podcast was, you know, it kind of happened by mistake, and I did a couple episodes, and I realized the biggest value that I get from doing these podcasts is meeting traders like you and networking with other traders and other people in the business space, because it kind of pushes you to get out of your comfort zone as well and meet other people. But not just that, I feel like you really do make connections, and you really do. I mean, I've been able to make so many different deals with people because of meeting them through doing podcasts. And I think that that's probably, if not the most valuable part of having a podcast. I think that's one of the most valuable things that I've gotten out of it personally. And I think, like you said, it's pretty much the same for you.
100%.
Like you said, you're on the Canary Islands right now. What's it like living there? Like, I think it's like a seriously beautiful place. But what made you decide to move there, and how is it like overall?
So starting from the reason why I'm here, when I was in high school in the US, I was in Los Angeles, and my goal in life, so my parents could not afford to keep me many other years in Los Angeles. That's why I didn't go to college over there, and I had to go back to Italy. And one of my big goals in life was to live in a place, whether it was Los Angeles or something similar, that, where the weather was nice, just like Los Angeles, where there was the beach, where there was the palm trees, and all of these things, because I loved that place. So once I started making money, I started looking for alternatives, maybe that were closer to my home country, which is Italy, and I found out about Canary Islands. Now, here, I personally love it. It's a beautiful place. Really, the weather is super nice. The people are very friendly. If I could say some pros and cons, for sure, also taxes are good. I'm a big real estate investor. Well, big for my standards. I met some people which have many more properties, but I currently own 6 properties. I'm in the process of buying the 7th one this month, possibly, actually during August, possibly. And, for real estate, it's good because if you reinvest the profits of your company into real estate, you just get tax advantages. So I really liked this thing. I really like investing personally. So this was really suitable for me. At the same time, other than taxes, the weather and everything, if I have to say one thing that is not the best, is possibly the connections. Only this year, I personally realized how important having a network is. Because in the past, I was just, the kid that was trading in his room, on his setup, on his laptop, whatever, and was not really connecting with other people. In the last year, I realized how much it is important. And that's also why I was at Capital Club by Belmar the other week. Because I realized how much it was important to connect with other like-minded individuals and just exchange informations, and how much you can position yourself in a better place if you have also information from others and if you just exchange information. So it's not the best place to network. There are not a lot of people that are in the same path as us, and also if they are, probably they don't speak English most of the times. I'm not saying that there are 0 people, but it's very hard. While I met a lot of people that live in Dubai and they're like, that's a great place. I mean, if you know how to filter and how to find the correct people, you always talk about business, you always talk about leveling up, you always exchange good informations. So I can understand that maybe a trip to Dubai would be nice, but I personally love living here. I wouldn't change to live somewhere else. At the same time, I would love to connect with more like-minded people on a daily basis to always try to level up and push myself to the better.
Yeah, but I mean, that means you get to travel more.
Right.
But I mean, at the same time, I think also living on like maybe Canary Islands, people are a lot more like laid back there, right? People are a lot more like small town kind of mentality, right?
Yeah.
They're not necessarily on your mind length. Whereas if you're in Dubai, it's like everybody's either becoming rich or they're already rich.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like if I had to live in Dubai, it would be kind of sad because you're already there around all these rich people. Hey, I get to buy my first supercar. Like, whoop-de-doo, you're one of them. You're a normal person now, Yeah. And now I'm just like, hey, I'm cool to live in South Africa. If I get to buy my supercar, I mean, there are a couple here, but it's still nice to, when you feel success, you still feel successful,
Of course, yeah.
But it also, I think there needs to be a balance. You need to be around successful people, but you also need to, be in a more laid-back environment to some degree. It's interesting. You were saying you were just in Spain, right, with Luke Belmar.
Yeah.
How was that, dude? That's insane.
It was amazing. the reason why I went there, it was of course to connect with like-minded individuals and just be able to position myself better in many industries. But I realized even more how much investing into yourself and how much investing into networking can be worth. So I personally spent 15,000 euros to be there. Everyone else spent the same. That was just the ticket to be there. But I believe that I made back that money, not in practice, but theoretically, I made back that money on the first day. Everyone over there was really genuine and very authentic. They were not there to flex or to just extract information from others, but it was really a bubble of genuinity and of people just exchanging informations without wanting anything back. So for example, there were many crypto guys and they're just sharing what they're doing and how they analyze the coins. There was a crypto billionaire and he's a billionaire. He invested into Bitcoin in 2010 when it was around some cents, I don't know, below $1. And he was explaining how he's approaching the crypto market, and he's also investing into startups. So he also explains his thought process behind which startups to invest in and which not to invest in. So a lot of interesting informations, and I realized that, but just by doing this and being in the correct room, I can position myself better to make more money in the future or be more healthy in the future, and all of these things. So it was of crucial importance. Shout out to Luc Belmar, as he really put together an amazing thing. Shout out to Capital Club as well. I really enjoyed it, and I'll go back for sure next year. A lot of people think that it's expensive, and of course it costs money. To me, in the beginning, when they told me the price ticket, I was like, damn, like that's nice price ticket. But at the same time, once I was there, on the second day, I thought it was cheap.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing at the end of the day. I mean, it must have been crazy. And I think didn't Luke got into crypto pretty early as well, right? I think he made like a ton of money off of crypto as well.
Yeah.
I think he leveraged all of his e-commerce into crypto. How do you feel about crypto?
About crypto, I feel I will still follow the cycles. I personally, I'm investing since 2016, so I've been through a couple cycles and I've seen the things that have been happening. Now for the next cycle, I personally am not invested in this moment, but I'm 100% looking to get in. I will personally invest in both the major coins, for sure, Bitcoin, Ethereum, but also at the same time some smaller ones in which I will start dollar cost averaging. One thing that I strongly believe is that if there is hike of the rates of the Fed in the United States, we will see a drop in cryptos, and at that moment I will try to get in. I mean, with more money, of course. In the meantime, I'm dollar cost averaging, and at the same time, for the future, I will just try to get profits in the second half of 2025. I'm trying to follow the cycles. I haven't seen any other way of moving. Of course, there is a lot of noise with all the news, with maybe exchanges going down, but at the end of the day, if you zoom out, you look at the weekly or the monthly chart, we pretty much almost always have the bottom into that base range, after a certain amount of weeks, and the top after a certain amount of weeks. And I like the cycles. I like studying cycles. Maybe it will go differently this time, but I will play it this way. And if I make money, good. If I don't, then I just need to manage my risk well. Of course, I'm not gonna go all in cryptos.
Right. And going back to your trading, in terms of Forex and trading in general, how would you describe your style of trading?
So my style of trading at the moment is just based a lot on liquidity. I just want to find major liquidity points and then find good confirmations. I try to, especially on social media, I try to call myself the fake change of character trader, as on Smart Money Concepts you see a lot of change of characters, change of character entry, this and that, So I like trading fake confirmations or whatever you want to call them. Some people say, oh, it's not a fake confirmation, it's just inducement, if that's the word. I don't know. I don't really care about it.
Same thing.
Yeah, right. I don't really care about terminology. At the end of the day, if you are profitable, you can call things whatever you want. So a lot of liquidity and a lot of understanding of good confirmations on lower time frames, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I pretty much trade the same way. I really enjoy getting in on, like, I can literally see when other people are trying to get into the market, and I'm like, just waiting for them to lose their position, and then I'll get in afterwards, you know?
Right.
Especially when you have that fake, like you said, the fake change of character. I literally trade the same way. So I'm looking at higher time frame points of interest and then waiting for price to get into those higher time frame points of interest. That's the other thing. People don't often zoom out and look on the higher time frames, and they get caught up on the lower time frames, and they're literally stuck in a range, and they're trying to trade the range, and they're wondering why they're getting completely taken out of all positions. But you need to wait for literally higher time frame to line up with your lower time frame. Otherwise, you're just going to get lost. And then obviously, literally, if it looks too obvious, there's probably a reason it looks that obvious, and you're going to get liquidated, and they're going to use your liquidity to fuel that move. So yeah, it's interesting, bro. I trade literally the same way. What do you think about, because I mean, there's small money concepts, and then there's ICT, right? And everybody goes on about ICT, right? Me included to some degree. What do you think about the whole ICT movement? Do you think it's a little bit culty? What do you think about it, bro?
I believe that what ICT has done for the industry is amazing. Of course, he has introduced, and not only introduced, but also grew through his audience a lot of concepts that are definitely helpful in order to understand the market. But at the same time, many of his following fail to understand that, I don't know, it seems a bit of a cult sometimes, especially the way they defend him, which is great. I mean, under a educator point of view, I have my students, I have my course, and of course you see how they defend him. I'm like, well, that's nice. It means that they really like him, and that he has done a great job. At the same time, sometimes you point out things that are obvious, and they still don't understand, and they try to defend the whole ICT movement, starting from the fact that it's 100% legit. I just don't agree that you just put a blindfold on your eyes and just trade on, just trade based on how one YouTube video of ICT says. So you can kind of put your own logic behind it. And I believe that just, critical thinking should always be there by all people, whether it is in trading or in life. You should start critical thinking and not just trading randomly based on how someone said. So whether it is ICT, whether it is whether it is a person that trades for a bank, or whether it is another educator online, just use critical thinking, take the information and use it for yourself in the best possible way.
Right, yeah, I agree, man. I learned a heck of a lot of stuff from ICT, but I'm never going to take what he says as like blanket, that's how I'm going to trade. I'm always going to incorporate stuff I've learned in the past, and also logical and critical thinking, like you said. I mean, I'm going to blend things together. I'm not just going to take something that somebody says as the word and literally just trade that. And I think a lot of people are literally, the biggest problem I have with ICT is that people take ICT as like, the book of ICT says this in chapter 1, verse 4. It's literally become like a religion. It's like in session 19 on the 2022 mentorship, he says this at 0.22 seconds. And I'm like, okay, cool, great for you. Personally, I barely watched any actual ICT, but I still trade ICT. I've learned from other people that have learned from his teachings. And that's the thing. That's what I prefer, because I'm able to take what I like and take what I don't like. And I think that people literally are religious about ICT, and it's bad. And it's like nobody else is allowed to trade any other way. It's almost like a religion, It's like, it's literally like, this is the only way. If you're doing retail concepts, if you're doing even supply and demand trading, you're wrong. you're going to be, but there's so many different ways to be profitable. There isn't just one way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, I know people that trade support and resistance and are profitable.
Exactly. Trade Fibonacci and you're profitable. Trading opens and closes of the daily candle. There's so many different ways to trade. So it's interesting. I mean, literally, they treat it like a cult. And if you say anything bad about ICT, you better be ready for pitchforks and torches to come up outside your door, because it's going to happen. Like, people are seriously religious about the guy. And it's the same thing if I make a YouTube video about it and I use different terminology, or I call something else. It's like the world's ending. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, also, I found, so to change the subject completely, when people ask you what you do for a living, what do you tell them? Because I've found personally that I feel a little bit of like apprehension of telling them that I trade Forex for a living, because immediately that has negative connotations. What do you think, bro? What do you tell people?
I remember from a couple of years ago, I was in a WhatsApp group, on a group chat, and someone texted me personally, and they were like, "Hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. Let's meet up here in Canary Islands, whatever. But by the way, what do you do?" "Oh, I work here." Yeah, but like, what do you do? Forex trading. They blocked me. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's just, but anyway, this was just a nice story, but it's hard for sure to say what you're doing. I'm trying to always live in genuinity and authenticity. So I'm not really trying to hide anything. At the same time, you need to say things that people understand. So I understand that when I was explaining my family what I was doing, you just generate money by pressing buy and sell buttons is not really understandable. So I try to make it as easy as possible. And to people that I just meet for the first time, I just say that I work online, I do business online, whatever, and I don't really go into explaining the whole trading thing. Now, of course, if I become friends with them or I see them 2 or 3 times, then I start explaining what I actually do. And I don't really care anymore about what other people think of me. In the past I used to, but as long as I'm trying to do good for the world and good to other people, and I don't hurt anyone else, if they want to think bad of me because I trade or whatever, it's just their perception. In the beginning we were talking about perception. Their perception is just based on themselves. It's their own perception of things. It's not how things are. So it's their problem.
It's interesting because I feel like it's one of the professions that can literally make you the most money. But it's also probably probably because of that, it's one of the most scammable professions. Like literally, I think it's one of the most, used in terms of scams and online scams. So I think that's probably where the negative perceptions come from. At the same time, I mean, like scams and stuff like that online are going absolutely berserk. Like how many fake profiles I can only imagine the amount of fake Instagram profiles I have. I can only imagine you. It must be like to the 13th power of the amount of them. How do you deal with that, dude? Because I struggle.
Well, now it's easier with the blue tick from Instagram, just by paying, I don't know, 15 euros per month or something. It's way easier. But in the past, I always tried to warn my audience, but at the same time, I believe that, I never DM anyone first of all. I have the link of my website if they want to buy anything from me. So honestly, if someone DMs you and they're like, "Okay, I have an opportunity for you. I'm going to make you 150% in 2 weeks. Just invest some money, give me 500 euros. And you give it to them and they only ask Bitcoin, it's kind of your fault at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, some people are just so naive, and I think that perhaps that's your way of learning. Sometimes it's a more of an expensive thing, and some people literally give their life savings to these people, and I'm just really I don't know where to draw the line of sympathy, but also maybe this was a lesson you needed to learn at the same time. But that being said, it's such an expensive lesson to learn, you know. But it's crazy, dude. I think that the way the world is right now, people are just trying to exploit people. And it's interesting, like you were saying, when you went to, for example, not that this, it's on the subject of, you know, information being valuable. And I think a lot of people find, you know, value in information, and which is why they're trying to, for example, sell you this robot that makes you a ton of money. Because at the end of the day, information is actually what makes money. Us trading and the way that we trade is based on information that we've accrued and experience, which, you know, we you know, for example, we both have education platforms, and that's why people pay money to be part of our education platforms. And so, like you said, with attending like Capital Club with Luke Belmar, it's literally like, yes, it sounds like a whole ton of money, but it's not, because you got the value through the information that you got. Like you said, you literally made it all back. And that's because you got given valuable information to excess of, you know, what you spent. So I think that that's like a really important takeaway that I took away from this. But from a very early stage, I started to realize that information is extremely valuable. There's been so many times where I've literally paid people just to learn certain things that they have, you know, to learn from their experiences. And it's a similar thing to what, you know, to what you were saying. And I think that people don't realize how valuable information can be and how it can literally turn you into a millionaire, a billionaire, just having the right information. But it's also what you do with it as well, of course. So that's where the personal development comes in. But yeah, I mean, dude, it was really amazing having you on the show. Once again, like I every time we chat, it's awesome. So thank you very much for coming through all the way from Canary Islands. Yeah, maybe I'll visit you there one day. I'm actually there. I'm in Madeira in December. So yeah, maybe I'll hop on a boat or something and hop on the ferry. I'll come visit
That'd
you.
be nice. Or we meet in Madeira. It's only like 1 hour flight from here.
Yeah, dude. I can swim.
Yeah. Next podcast in person, man. You came to mine. Dude. I did your podcast now. Yeah. Next one in person for sure.
100%, bro. There's still so much more that we can chat about. I feel like we could have like a really long, good, juicy podcast, bro. But yeah, dude. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you to everybody who watched the podcast. And if you really enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe below and let me know what you thought about it. And let me know who you want to see in the next one. So cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching.